Okay, here I am again. Oh, let me see here. Get these lights situated here. What's going on? Let's see. There we are. Something like so. Maybe no. Okay. Anyway, how are you guys doing? I'm doing well. I am working on some projects around the house, so I'm jumping on to say hello just for a minute so everybody knows I'm alive. I really don't have a whole lot to say once again. Uh, because I'm busy. I got a lot of things going on, but I want to fill you in on what I'm doing. I'm just catching up on some things around the house, but I'm also dabbling into pigments on the side because I'm painting some pieces in the house that are needing some earth tones and earth colors. So I figured it'd be fun to just go to the actual colors, themselves, that are safe enough without killing you, and using those. So I've been using things like for like for a brick color, I use like iron oxide, which is and the pigment. And what I do is I mull it into some linseed oil and make it into a nice buttery consistency to it, where it's just creamy and you can just put. It's nice. I like doing this, but you got to be careful when you're messing with classical inks and classical paints. Um, it's a lot to get into this world, and um, but one of my favorite colors so far that I'm working with, completely safe too, in its natural form. It's it's one we get, crimson is what we hear the word crimson, and it's actually from a bug. And I haven't done much research on the bug itself. I think in South America they call it the chanchonil, um, which is they put this into a lot of your food dyes, has this from what I hear, and it is a brilliant. It's creamy. I'd say brilliant. It has its own thing about it. It's very dark. It's sort of a maroon. I don't know. I can't place it. It's crimson, is what it is. So when you hear crimson, I think it in the Middle East it comes from like an old word like crimmet or something like that, which is the name of the bug, which is the chanchonil bug in South America. The same, I believe it's the same bug. So they once really paid high prices for this color, and why not? It is outstandingly beautiful. And then I'm messing with cadmiums and original cadmiums. Um, this one's called Shiva Scarlet. It's scarlet red, sorry, but it's a cadmium. Cadmiums can be toxic to breathe. Some of these paints, I may mess with. If I do something with them, I will definitely have to suit up, almost hazmat it, or whatever you call it, hazmat suit. Um, Things like beautiful Prussian blue. I can't wait to work with this because this is really, really beautiful, beautiful blue. Um, this can be toxic. I don't know. It's a lesser death on this one. It's not as bad as like um, cyanide, but it's a ferrous cyanide, so it's supposed to be a lesser instead of a greater death. I don't know what that means. I think they're one's more painful. I don't know what that means. Anyway, just messing with paints, and I'm looking forward to messing with my lapis lazuli if I can find it. Where is it? Where did my lapis go? Oh no, I cannot lose my lapis lazuli. Anyway, it's somewhere in here. Anywho, but messing with paints. So, oh, here it is. Yeah, lapis. Lapis, beautiful, isn't it? Look at the ink on my fingers. You can tell I've been messing with inks. Um, There you go. And I am wearing gloves. This is on there because I was messing with black ink a moment ago for my ink pen, which I have this beautiful. I love ink pens, right? I love nibs, and I love the different colors that you can work with in the world of calligraphy. You know, nibs, right? The old fashioned, and I like doing things with them. And then this wonderful person I know got me this really beautiful piece, which is one of my favorite. This is my favorite pen, actually, and it is a fountain pen, and I love a good fountain pen. It's very smooth, writes beautifully. I put my own inks into it and my own blend, which is very easy, by the way, guys. Turns out the best black that you can get is very obtainable just by owning a candle and a spoon. Put the spoon over the candle as the flame is burning. It collects the smut. And that really black smut is about as black as you can get, man. And it's the best. But anyway, so this is a really beautiful pin that I have. But I like good old classic. This is one of my favorite ones too. The other one is my ultimate favorite, but this is has its own little nature about it. Let me see. And this is manuscript, by the way. That did this just so you know, about $15, and this is a really really good pen for fountain pens. If you're into fountain pens, and there's why fountain pens. Well, I don't like ballpoints. Never have. They seem to be practical. That's why they exist. Um, but when it comes to really writing something down, if you write with a nib, a good nib on the front of a fountain pen, there's just nothing like the way it glides across whatever type of paper. Now, some papers, it's not very friendly with. If you have a somewhat gritty paper, it can rip that paper apart if you're not careful. But I love that stuff. I've been dabbling more into inks currently because I'm going through a moment where I'm mixing and getting that out of the way. So I mix my paints. It's a it's a messy process, and it's long and tedious because you're trying to keep it as clean as possible. And once I get those mixed in, then I'll be able to sit back and use them on some projects that I am looking forward to. One project on the side, going back to just for you guys who just don't know how my brain works or how it doesn't work to some. Um, Here's a good read. Just take it with you on a trip. Easy, throw in your backpack. No, this is actually the Book of Ani, and this is a really fascinating scroll that was found in a tomb. Wound up, um, it's very hard to trace where the tomb came from, and they call it the Book of the Dead, but really the Egyptians didn't call it that. They called it the Book of Going Forth by Day, is what they called it, because they didn't see it as death. And for those of you who might think this is the Bible for um, for the Egyptians, no, this is more like an instruction manual for when you're in the afterlife, and it's there. And Ani must have been quite uh, a nobleman because he paid a lot of money to have this scroll done in his tomb. It was about, I think it was somewhere in the realm of 60 some odd feet long when they unraveled it. And or as it unraveled, I don't know how they did the process. Some of the pieces and pages and leaves, as they called it, wound up in other collections, and they have been trying to put the whole thing together, and I think they did. And this is a uh, beautiful piece done. Who is the guy who did it? Well, it's a collection of people. um, got Dr. Ogan Goalete Jr. I don't know who these people. Dr. Raymond O. These Faulkner. Well, there you go. All right. But this is a really really good read, and it explains how that process happened. And why do you need this? To the Egyptians, they felt like they'd forget. I guess, when you wake up in the afterlife, to them, you'd kind of forget for a minute. Maybe it's some sort of shock, they thought, maybe, that you're going to forget. And so there's a reminder, and that is the instruction manual, how to get through the stages that you are going to be facing. And it's a really cool read. Another one for you. Now this one here I've been wanting to read for a while, and I bought this while I was out on the road. It's quite thick. You go, Michael, really? You're going to read that? Probably not. But it's the thing. The thing. I never complete a book, by the way. I never complete. I think the only book I ever completed was Frankenstein in high school. You know, but I never really complete. I always get like right to the end, and for some reason and I'm the same way with video games. I'm like, oh, I think it's because I found whatever it is, or maybe I don't know. I don't know. Maybe leaving something to go back to. This book is called Jerusalem: The Biography, and it's a collection, and it's well done. It's by Simon Sebag. I'm going to try to say this, Montefiore, and Sabag, Simon Sabag, Montefiore. Anyway, what he did was he put a collection of different historians from maybe like from 300 somewhere in the BC to the first century, like especially Flavius Josephus has a lot of um, his documents and stuff in there, whatever. And reading through it, you get to know the history a little bit as to what we understand it. I mean, history has a way of not really telling the truth on the surface, but you get bits of it, and you can see what was really going on in Jerusalem, and this really paints a really nice visual, a picture of how this is happening, and it's a fun read as far as that goes. The antiquities of the Jews, the what was the other one? Let me see. Well, there's a lot in here. He's quoting people all the way back to Manetho, which was he was an historian during the time of Ptolemy, somewhere in there. So that would have been about 350 BC. And but a lot of Manetho's works they don't exist. And people like Josephus, who came around in the first century, and other historians of that time, they had documents of Manetho, and so I'm digging into it, and they're quoting things from him. So that's how we get to hear his voice a little bit, Manetho, through Josephus and a couple other historians too. But Josephus is really important, and I'm obtaining the complete works of Josephus because not the essential. I don't like church or anyone dictating the documents, and they have a version called the Essential Works of Josephus. Um, no, that one I tell you, I looked through it, and it lets you know that there's been stuff that's been omitted from the essential works, and I don't believe in omitting any works from a historian. It's also that the person who put the book together didn't want you to get confused with some of the things that Josephus may say that might confuse one in conflict to what the Bible is saying. And I think that's not good when you do that. You don't do that. Shame on you. Shame on you. You don't omit stuff, and you don't decide, academia, what people should or should not have. You give them all information, and be as critical as you can and judge that book by the cover inside and out with all measurements as science is supposed to do. But seems like they're not doing that these days as well. But anyway, that's a different subject. um, yeah, so Jerusalem, the biography, I'm telling you, it is a really good read for those of you who are into this. And I really, and it goes, where does it start? It starts, I think, somewhere like in around 500 BC. It talks briefly about the history going back, um, to 1550, let's say 1550, 1650 BC. But that everything gets very controversial when you start talking about what happened in those time dates and what led up to the temple, what would be the temple, the first temple. And it's very interesting stuff to read. Um, Another one, while you're reading that, the Torah. Yeah, the Torah. For you Bible lovers out there, anybody that's into the Christian Bible, well, you go, well, I got the Old Testament. Well, you don't really have the true Old Testament until you have this. And yes, guys, the church did do their little altering to things like Genesis because it speaks differently in the original document, slightly different. Um, and if you want to try me on that, test it, try. But the Bible says, not to add any or take from. In the very last verse of Revelations, right? In the New Testament of the Bible, right? This isn't adding on or taken away from. This is more to the original when you read the Torah. Christians, all my Christian friends, please. And yes, you got to read it from the opposite side because it's in Hebrew. Well, it's not all in Hebrew, but there's a Hebrew, and I get to learn some Hebrew, and yeah, so that's a good read also for those of you who are into theology. Um, Here's another one for theology for you if you're into theology. And I've got a Bible, I've got the Quran, I've got the Torah. Why? Because these three religions are called Abrahamic religions, meaning they all agree that Abraham basically was the man. Okay. And then things become wishy-washy after that. And then wars are fought and people die. And it's more vassal than it is religious. And it's mostly based on ignorance and greed and pride. And pride. Anyway, fun reads for anybody that wants to know what's actually going on instead of listening maybe to some anchor person telling you their opinion on opinion. Opinionated journalism is what that is, and you look it up, it's what it is. I don't watch the news as a result for that. Go to the horse's mouth. That's why I learn Egyptian, and I'm going to learn, as a result, I'm going to learn Phoenician. I'm already going into that, which, by the way, that is Hebrew and what will also be Aramaic, and it's the early version of those and the writing that goes with that. And it's really, really fun doing it and learning another story. I know the story of the Bible, but when you're doing the archaeological research, it's best not to search so much for everything that's there. I don't try to compare the two. In fact, I see a different story, one that's similar through archaeology, but I don't sit there and go, they need to be one and the same. However, down the line, if we were to bring the truths out there about Abrahamic religion and what archaeology can provide to show us, it's just an idea that maybe if the truths start getting out there, maybe it won't be these generations now, but in future generations to come, we'll stop ad homineming these wars and start thinking more logically and practical and say, hey man, that was stupid. We were doing that, or shaming somebody because they may not know Christ in India, they may not know in some country or indigenous tribes, to think that people are damned that have no reason to be. And this sort of thinking all comes from, um, really from arrogance, and a lot of pride that we all have. And right now, people are wanting to be very prideful right now. I'm not a prideful person. I don't like pride. I was raised as a Christian, and in Christianity, love does not puff itself, and it is not prideful. And pride is what causes wars. Pride can be an ad hominem. It is an emotion, and one that's unnecessary, that comes with great arrogance, even on the smallest scale. So, pride. And if anyone out there argues that, that's funny, because that's the whole point, is to humble oneself. And that's very difficult to do. God knows I'm working on that every day of my life. It is not easy. Anywho, talking to myself here. Let's see what's going on. Let's see. I have some awesome people who jumped on. For some reason, you guys jump on. Let's see. I see. Greetings from Maine. We got Rick McGibbon. Carol, let's see what she's saying. Okay. Hey, Carol, how you doing? Our Canadian from Ontario. And hello to Canada. Let's see. Such good people in Canada. They really are. Let's see. I will have to say, though, customs in Canada, they're not so nice. But the people outside of that are. Customs isn't nice anywhere you go. I'm just making a complaint for nothing. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, well, thank you guys, everybody that's got on here. I wanted to see what I'm doing. I'd like to. Okay. Yes, primary source material here. Nodalites. I don't know how you say that. Nodalites. Yeah, primary source. See, that's what's important, guys. Primary source. It's not easy. It's difficult. And when you go to the primary source, and what we're talking about there, I believe, is just when you're getting information, and when you're listening to people, when you're involved in the information, you got to be careful, because there's so many what I call woozle trails, and what they call woozle trails in journalism, which are chasing a woozle. It doesn't exist, and you're following your own footsteps in the end. And guys, I believe that there's a lot of people who have recently have discovered, if not are in the process of discovering, if not in denial, that they have been walking and following their own footsteps. And if they don't wake up to this, and where's the problem in this? How do you avoid it? 3 laws of logic. Let's just try that. Aristotle, first law is the law of information. Gather all of information, take it at face value only, but take it, guys. Do not take it as gospel. Then follow the second law. Find the contradictions within all this information. It doesn't sound easy, because it's not. You got to go through a lot of information. But guys, if you're going to be passionate enough to kill somebody or end relationships with family, it is good. You might want to know your P's and Q's and get all of your letters in order before, in all arguments, before you start taking a side so passionately. And the third law would be to exclude the middle argument. By the time you've gotten all the information and you've found the contradictions, which is hard work once again, then you now exclude the middle arguments. Now, this is all from your point of view, but at least you've done your work. And now you can find the fallacies, and don't be too far and too afraid of yourself to admit your own wrongs. Embarrassment is the best teacher in life. God knows I know this. And learning from it every day. But if you don't catch yourselves now and start doing that, just take time. You think you may know a lot, but you don't. I don't. Nobody does. And how ignorant are we, on what degree, on what level, is the question everyone should be asking themselves. Find the source. Find the source. Don't listen to somebody else. This causes wars. Find the source. Go to the mouth and listen to it. Listen to it yourself. Look at the facts. Where are the facts? The facts are going to be things like policies, okay? And the fallacies that lie in everybody today, the fallacies, these are called, these sorts of fallacies like authoritative fallacies, or I call them shadow fallacies. Authoritative fallacies that cut you off right at the top, thinking you know everything, and then they're assuming the outcome, leaving you begging the question, where the hell did you get this information from and why? And they themselves don't know, other than that one that they've been watching on TV that's telling them this stuff. And it's really got to stop, guys. Shame on anybody that's doing that right now, especially in these times that we are in. It is more important and detrimental to everybody that you do not prove that your fellow friend who may be opposite in their party is just finding any way to make them phallus. I think it would be a good idea for me and for everybody right now to check our own fallacies by knocking our ego down a lot, having try to strip the pride that one might have down, because that's going to be your worst enemy. I had to drop mine, and I'm telling you, it's a humiliating fact for everyone, and me more importantly. And I'm not trying to stand on any soapbox, but right now, guys, please do your fact checking. Do it yourself. Stop listening to people and do your fact checking. If it's something someone said, go to that person. If you can't find them saying that, then you're on a woozle trail. Do your work and stop listening to other people. You're going wrong with that. Now, for me, I don't know. I've had a lot of friends that have, I say friends, and people that have went totally phallus with me, based on their belief system, their ideology that they have accepted, which no matter what, no matter how lack of evidence that they can bring, they don't bring any evidence at all, or following up on anything that they are so passionate for as to why they're saying these things. And then they cut me out of their life as a result. I don't cut people out of my life like that. I just don't do it. If you're on some other side, then go ahead. But if you're looking at everybody and saying they're the bad person, you might want to get in the mirror there and see what is really going on here. You might be brainwashed, people. And then this whole brainwashing thing, whether you believe it or not, and point fingers on each side. The problem is that nobody's pointing the fingers at their own selves right now, meaning checking your own self, checking what you believe in, going to the board, hashing it out with yourself, and going, am I correct on this? Let me make sure, because I just ended a relationship with my nephew recently, telling him I hate him because I believe he's Hitler. This is stupid, people. This is stupid. And at the end of the day, it's not anyone being racist or phallus, but the one that is doing it themselves. And I would say catch yourselves on these things, guys. Right now, we're in some very I've never seen anything. No, none of us has seen anything like this. None of us. So I go into the world of color and pigments, and I jump into Jerusalem and Egypt to escape the madness of the outstanding ignorance that's going on a level that I've never seen. Information right there, readily available for anybody to know how to use it and use it, but rather sit there and lazily listen, lazy, not doing the work, and then ending relationships with people as a result. Shame on those who do that. Shame on those. Anyway. All right, guys. I don't know. Let's see. There's a lot of other things that I have going on, but I just keep myself busy. I got a song that I'm gonna work on here later. I'm working on it with my buddy Gene Bessie down in Mississippi, where he come up with this great idea for a song, and it's for the new generation, and we're thinking we need to do a song for the young men, the young boys. I mean, I can only empathize mostly with any young boys because I'm a man myself, so I feel sorry for the new generations. And so we were talking about it, and Gene and I came up with a song that he's gonna come from his angle, I'm gonna come from mine, and we're gonna make something beautiful. It's gonna be called Somewhere There's Still a Man in Here in There. Somewhere there's still a man in there. That's why I grew my facial hair. It's for the new generation. And they need a song right now. Nobody's paying attention to these guys. They're getting shadowed up, you know, getting thrown in corners with a bag of seeds. That's why, you know, I don't know. We got to talk to these guys. Anyway, um, hmm. I'm in the world of common sense. That's what I'm going to start doing. And that's just another way of saying logic, but common sense. Just go back to common sense. People think common sense is racist and prejudice. It's so stupid. It's because they want to be moral, is why. They don't want any laws. They want to be lawless and immoral. And we need some laws. We need some laws. I mean, we have laws. This country's built on a law system that lets everybody kind of have their own thing and do their own thing. You can bring your own religions out here and do everything. Nobody's living under your laws, though. Nobody's law except for this law that we all come together. That's what this country was built for. Those laws were built for that. And you could sit there and argue that all you want. And it's got its imperfections, but the laws here are made for us, to those who want to come here and live and be free and know what true freedom is in the definition of this part of the geographical West. And if it is unique only in this part of the West, America that being, then let it remain. There is other places in the world that do not follow the ideologies of this country at all. And you are more than welcome, I'm quite sure, to go to these other countries and experiment. I've been around the world. And for anybody, and I've been to Asia, I've been to Europe, I've been all practically, all 7 continents except for maybe Antarctic. Or is it Arctic? I forget which one. The South Pole, yeah, Antarctic. Every time I come back into this country, I swear, man, I've been to countries and it's just that culture there, which is nice, and it's just confined, and it's just that culture, and it's respectful. You go to those countries when in Rome, you do what the Romans do, and you pay respect, and so I do that. And so, and every time I come back to the United States, I have a great time. I've always have a great time when I visit other countries. But I always come back and I see the diversity of this country. And if you don't believe that this country is so diverse, then something is wrong with you. You need to go visit other countries. You need to seriously get out, people. You need to seriously get off your butts and go visit the real world. And then you'll get an understanding, whether you like it or not, what this country is about better when you visit the world. And there are those who go, no, that those other countries and things do great and their ideologies are awesome. Well, then go there. Go there. We don't want that in this system. The way the system is set up, it's for prosperity, for anybody to have that. If they so decide to do so, you can come from nothing, dirt, and still do it. Dirt and still do it. I mean, like I say dirt, I didn't come from, but I mean, growing up from nothing, right? And having nothing and trying, and everybody they're telling me you're never gonna do anything. You can't do anything. Just be like us and holding you down and hold. But I knew all along, and it was instilled in me that this country gives me that freedom to do so. And as long as I believe that I can do it and I am producing something as a result, more importantly, then boy, I don't think I could have done this in any other country. What I've done here, coming from nothing, being able to make money as a musician, guys, make a living being a musician. If you think that's possible around the world, it is. But they have to get other jobs. I'm talking about full time musician, America. And for those of you here that are going, well, it doesn't give it to me, it's because that reason you're standing there so pridefully and arrogant, standing in front of yourself. That's the thing about me, man. I'll sit on a street corner till this day. I have no pride when it comes to that. In fact, I like sitting in small places. That's where I grew up. That's where I humbled myself from. I feel better in those environments, more so. Oh, and by the way, since we're on this, with the upcoming gigs that I have, I'm getting bored a little bit, and I'm feeling very inspired a lot recently. So I'm ready to start digging into some music. Okay, be careful, guys. I know, Joanne. Calm down. Okay, Joanne, calm down now. Calm down, Joanne. This is the blue panda. He's watching you. He's watching you, Joanne. Renee, he's watching you. Always watching you. Um, so in my boredom, I was just thinking, and I'm just going to throw it out there for all of you before I get off here. I'm not able to do a lot of these covers. I mean, online because copyright issues, YouTube monetizing everything the way they do, and I just don't want any of the conflict and or lawsuits. And so I figured what I'll do is a lot of people have been wanting me to learn some artists' material or specific material itself, songs. So I'm going to give it an experimental moment here to see how this goes. Since I can't do the songs for you online, I want you to request some songs, get them to me, whether it be, I need to give you something to be able to send it to. But go to michaelgrimmmusic.com and I'm sure you'll get on there and you could send out something there. Talk to me when you see me. I want to learn up some songs, some new stuff. I need to be inspired, and I just don't listen to the radio. There's my problem. I should have said this in the beginning. I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to what's new. I do that on purpose for a few reasons. I am really burned out in music, guys. I'm really burned out. When you do 30 years of doing what I do, it gets boring and boring. And that's why I'm telling you this right now, because I want to find that inspiration. And instead of me I try turning on the radio, and then I'm very quickly just jaded. And I'm so jaded, I'm just like, can't do this. But I know there are great artists out there and there are great songs. And And I know that you guys have a lot of them up your sleeve. You've been probably wanting to introduce me to their material. And so I'm just throwing it out there. Throw me some songs. When you see me on the gigs, I'll keep pen and paper on hand. So I'll write it down and I'll make a point to go start learning this stuff just for me, if anything. If I like the song, I'm going to do it. And it'll give me some new material to work with. And hey, maybe next time you come out and see me, I'll be able to do those specific songs for you and my version of them. Um, yeah, it just gives me something to do and to be inspired while I'm going through um, writing, while I'm doing the writing or in the process of writing new materials. When I write new material, it's frustrating because I start hearing the same things in my head and I can't get away from it. Songwriters, people in the music business, musicians know what I'm talking about, and it is frustrating. Here's a funny one for you. Jim, I think his name was Jim Larson. The comic book uh, cartoonist who did a cartoon called The Far Side. Now he had this one of my favorite comics of his was this man standing next to a window. He's looking out the window. There's a piano, right, and off in the distance he's looking through the window for inspiration. You can tell he's got his hands crossed behind his back and he's looking through just for inspiration. You gaze over on the piano and what he's working on, and it says he's got papers up there and he's got Jeepers Creepers. Where'd you get those pupils? Scratch. Irises? Scratch. That's where I'm at. Anyway, that's always been one of my favorite comics. Um, did you write She Drives Me Crazy? Hmm. I'd like to take, well, I was one of the writers. I would say the main writer on that is Kevin Hunter, who was with a band called Wire Train. And back in the days when he had Wire Train, if you look him up. And uber, uber talented poet, uh, savant like in his mind. He's genius. He's just one of those that I can only aspire and just I'm at awe when I'm around minds like him. And no, he wrote that. I mean, it was just spilling out of him, and that became a fun song. Um, yeah, I like that song. You're reminding me of it there. I need to bring it back up, and I will be doing. I think my next band gig with at the Smith Center, which is always something different when I do the Smith Center. This time will be a night of originals. So, She Drives Me Crazy will be one of those. Um, Check it out online to see what the date is on that. I forget. Sorry. I have all my art stuff around, not the technical dates and everything at hand. And I should to let you know, but just check it out on michaelgrimmmusic.com and let me know some new songs, something that you've been wanting me to sing. Give me something else to do right now. And, um, and that's about it. And yeah, I wanted to extend more, and I'm not going there now, but I wanted to tell more about when I got to Las Vegas and what happened leading up to the show. That was about 10 years. I had prior here in Vegas before I was on America's Got Talent and what I was doing here in Vegas. And, and I'll share all of that probably with you next time if you want to know, but it gives me something to talk about, reminiscing, but also in fear sometimes that somebody is going to sue me. I'm always in fear of that. You didn't tell the story right. You need to get it right or I'm going to sue you. You'd be amazed with people how they do that too, man. It's scary. Scary. Let me see. Yes. Painting will refresh your energy and inspire you. Um, karaoke, karaoke in the psych ward said. Okay. That's very inspirational of you, psych ward. Appreciate that. Um, and it is. That's very true. It is very, very true. Um, so for anybody, just yeah, I'd like to get to everybody here, but I love you guys. Um, yep, I think everybody. I'm just preaching to the choir. It seems to everybody. I'm looking through the comments. Everybody disagreeing, and anybody have an argument? I don't. I'm not looking for arguments or debates. Um, let's see. Hmm. And yes, well, I have a thing. I'll read this to you, and before, and this will be what I'll leave it on right here for you here, because let me see. Let me pull it up. Now, this goes on what was said. Common sense is and logic is great. However, we need to listen to our intuition. Well, when we listen to what we call our intuition, first we have to define what that truly means and where this what we call our gut feeling or intuition maybe, because sometimes that itself can be a misleading thing. But when it is speaking to you correctly, it's usually because I believe it's based on your experience already in life, and your experience is telling you, look, this is going to happen again, or there's a probability of this happening. For those that are spiritual, I don't want to knock that belief. I don't know anything of the world of that. I don't want to knock anyone's spiritual beliefs on that. That is a belief. That's a personal and thing, and I will not knock that. So, in saying that, I want to tell you that this piece that I'm about to tell you, it's a perspective piece. Okay, um, it's just a perspective, and I want you to know I'm not trying to do anything other than figure out what can, in a perspective and in a hypothetical perspective, how we can evolve to the next step as humans, and what defines words and what we consider human as being defined as. I'm going to give you just a piece, and this isn't my full perspective. Don't just. This is just a perspective. If I'm, this is okay. So if you're to look at things from a logical perspective, there's that, and then there's a thing from an emotional perspective, and I believe that emotions can be logical to an unfatal degree if you do it that way. But if I'm coming from a perspective, because guys, I write about love. It's not like I'm a master of knowing anything or guru of love, but I've been trying to figure this emotion out in all of its complexity. Um, and it is complex. It is not easy. And to come down to even the word human, let's go with that. Let's get more technical. So I wrote a piece called Sentients Are Not Humans. Okay. And this will go to explain. And this is just a perspective. And it's just, like I say, hypothesis here. Um, this is called the informal ad hominem fallacy. Many have tried defining the word human to some degree, but given the word too little definition when it should be more revered and appreciated. Let me share my perspective. To be conscious is not to be aware, but to be aware is to be conscious. And let me go further to explain what I mean there. Okay, in this definition, from this perspective, I'm conscious right now. I'm not asleep. Okay, that's in this definition. Awareness, therefore, is not consciousness. And with that being said, to be sentient is not to be human. But to be human is to be sentient. Okay, to be able to feel, to be able to know you're aware and you're aware of your own existence is sentient. Okay, okay, that doesn't necessarily define what it means to be human, because as I do it, something like Forrest Gump would say, human is as human does in this case. Otherwise, we're just animals who arrogantly title ourselves as humans while remaining static in our current evolutionary state. There are three fields of thought based on this concept that I can come up with, and you can help me with some more if you want. But please take a moment of time to humble yourself before moving any further here, because if you find yourself arguing with this, you're not seeing it from a perspective and a hypothetical. Okay, this is hypothetical. On one hand, we have nomenclated the word human or humane as to define the ad hominem as the true definition for the word human. That is incorrect in this perspective. It's not to say that humans shouldn't care. It is important to care for ourselves and others that we cherish in our personal sentient experience, and we define this as love. Therefore, it feels logical in our existence to care or love, but only to a certain unfatal degree. Okay. On the other hand, as we sing about the primal urges that we call love, and with our primitive egos also in full working order, we still convince ourselves that it is both emotion and logic that defines the word human. Once again, this is my perspective. It's not a full, it's just a perspective. But that's wrong again, too, in this perspective. Because if we believe this, then we will never reach our next evolutionary step, people, because I believe that one of both cancels out the other or whatever. There are only one must truly exist. And I do believe in only one truth, not your truth and mine. Okay. So, in my perspective, to truly define human is to define it by our logical thinking aside from our emotions. I believe that it is through through the sheer logical act of thinking and thought that would rise the true definition of the word human. It is not to be cynical or inhumane, but rather the opposite by being as critical with oneself as possible when approaching the subject from this perspective. Religious dogmas and senseless murders driven by our emotions and feelings is never logical. It is not the true definition, nor should it ever be, for the word human. Ape is the word for that. Yet the ones who remain unaware of this fact are the exact reason that I wrote this article, and they could pay attention even closer if they are aware enough. Let me be clearer. Humans do not make mistakes. Only sentients do in this perspective, in this view. That's why humanism should be identified and defined as a philosophical practice out from thought and logic. Only if we are sentient enough to understand it and practice it as such. We lie to ourselves when we take credit for other people's creations by frivolously using this title, human. Maybe if we would understand this to be so, while taming our primitive egos, then maybe we would try harder at being what could be defined as human. In this perspective, love creates war. Only logic creates peace. That's just in this perspective, guys. Don't get too critical on me here. I know you will, and you should. Therefore, logic is the one and only answer to progress towards the further evolution of humankind. Emotions are an oxymoron to logic, people. So, to be human is to be aware and to premeditate our actions out from only logic and not from emotions. And it's just a perspective. Now, I have another perspective on the other side that comes from love, but I write about that and a lot, and I think that it should be, the word human should have more reverence. Therefore, I wouldn't consider myself so much so, but we can go ahead and call ourselves that as we do, and we continue wars. I don't know. But we definitely need love, and love does conquer if we allow it to. But love also causes, there's that fine line with hate, and it just, and when you get those things involved, they just do away with logic for some reason, and they just wind up killing people. It's amazing. You would think with all the technology that we have been able to create as humans, the humans who created this, that we're talking to each other through, and you're looking at me through, man, you would think that we would know better than what we're doing right now. And you could see why I have that cynical approach to humans right now. I just see the way we're behaving. I understand why Moses threw the law on the ground and broke it in sight of everybody worshiping some deity. But everybody, I believe, is failing when they listen to that story. They're failing when they just hear about God in that relationship. I think God wants you to hear something more importantly, and that is law. Because if we are going to get along, that's what Moses was mad about. Polytheism in that time was not a way to bring people together. It kept people divided because of their own ideologies and laws amongst their polytheistic gods that conflicted each other. One law. Once again, that's why Moses was upset. I write these laws down, God writes these laws down, and then you guys, for all of us to come together on, and you go back to your lawless, immoral behavior. This is what we're seeing right now. No morals at all. It looks like to me anything with morals is being frowned upon in pop culture, and seems to be taking the dominant stage right now with pure common sense and being under attack, and emotions just ruling in the end. So I have to always play the devil's advocate. And if I saw it too much on one side, I'm going to go to the other and say, guys, this isn't looking right. We need to do something because you're not thinking. People aren't thinking. I'm not thinking. I need to stop and think. All right. Anyway, love you all, and I'll see you next Thursday if anything, and maybe see you on my gigs coming up. Um, Check me out at michaelgrimmmusic.com, and I'll see you guys next Thursday. Love you. Bye.